Well, hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Tech Tip Tuesday. My name's Ken Close, Healy World member here in the United States, engineer and lover of frequency everything. And I'm joined by our head of operations, Jake Barron. Hey, Jake, how are you?
I'm great. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we've got, is it Christian that's helping us out?
Yeah, Christian's here, also member of our tech support teams, here to assist everybody in the chat throughout the call tonight.
Right on. So we got live customer service right there in the chat, everybody. So, hey, welcome. If you're brand new to Tech Tip Tuesday, well, this is a chat-based forum where you guys put your questions in the chat, and myself and Jake and Christian tonight will unpack those things. Sometimes the audience puts in a couple of things, but it's always a lot of fun. We usually unpack things like all the way down. So the questions are pretty fun. What we talk about here is the everything about the apps, the technology, the theories, the concepts, even get into some science. We talk about all kinds of stuff. What we can't talk about, though, is anything that has to do with diagnosing medical conditions, prevention of diseases, any of that kind of thing. We can point you to some resources where you could find some answers, like finding out what Healy app or what Healy program might work with a condition. We can point you the right directions, but we don't really talk about that here. But we can talk about all kinds of other stuff. So it's a lot of fun. You guys just start putting your questions in the chat, and we'll get this party started. How about that?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Ethel commented on my new cap. It's
Yeah.
no, it's so like I mentioned on my introduction, my background is in engineering, electronics engineering, technical engineering. I've studied in-depth epigenetics and neuroscience over the last over decade. And so because epigeneer is a combined two words of an engineer and epigenetics, kind of bringing that together in one little space. So, and this Healy is an amazing example of how what what epigenetics means, influencing the cell outside the cell through frequency. This is an amazing way of doing it. So that's why I'm loving all this technology.
It's a fun time we live in here.
We tend to get to talking about things sometimes all the way down to that genetic level, because if we're really boiling things down, trying to figure out, okay, well, how are we changing biology through this invisible field? And there's a very distinct way that that happens. If we don't have any questions, we're going to make stuff up to talk about, you guys. So, so come on.
Yeah. Let's
You want to
see.
go ahead and think, how about frequencies and friends, Jake? You want to talk about anything that we uncovered there? Or?
Well, not necessarily tech related, but if those of you that were on it or those of you that missed it, the big topic was our new back office. Well, not but the enhancements to the existing back office, which when you first log in in general looks pretty similar. But there's a ton of new feature that allow you to connect with members of your team, whether upline or downline, and also track the performance, whether it's the top people on your team, the top new people on your team, the top volume, the top enrollers, the top everything, different categories as well. And it's easy to kind of switch. Okay, I want to focus this person's almost at this rank. I'm going to focus on these top five. Just like we have the all Healy programs top five, we have the back office top five now as well, which kind of helps you narrow it down to who on your team that you should be focusing on to help them achieve the next rank, the next success as well. So there's if you go to our YouTube channel, the Healy World Learning Hub, there's a recording of frequencies and friends, and if there's different segments and stuff that you want to check, very easy to do with the timestamps in the description there. And there's also, if you're not sure how to navigate some of these new features or filter and that kind of stuff, there's a series of training videos also in back office. In the tools section, there's a business back office 3.0 training videos, which kind of highlight each of the new widgets and stuff and what they represent and how to filter them and sort through it as well, because it's a very powerful feature for any of you that are, not just users of the Healy product itself, but maybe, sold a Healy here and there, referred Healy to others as well. It's kind of hard not to talk about Healy, but when you have it there, it just comes naturally. Like, hey, what's that device? What are you doing? And then you tell people about everything that there's a program for everything, over 200 different programs, and it's if somebody tells you that there's nothing there that can help them, they're lying.
100%.
Yeah,
It's I get the questions all the time. I wear mine. Pretty much it's like getting dressed in the morning. I'm like suiting up and everywhere I go, and people are like, "What is that?" Even when I'm flying, when I'm traveling, going through the security, the TSA, and they're asking. And believe me, you want to add a couple of extra minutes because sometimes they're sitting there having a conversation with you. Of course, they got to wipe it down with their little devices and make sure it's okay. But they always ask a lot of questions. I've had many people kind of dig into what's that around your neck, what's it doing, especially because I wear the wristbands and the leads all the time. And so I just had somebody comment the other day. It's like, what are you hooked up? What is that? Is that Iron Man? What is that thing?
yeah,
But yeah, we're hooked up, and kind of what I was uh, kind of alluding to earlier, that when we're working with the genetic codes, we're working with the body, this three-dimensional body, this microcurrent that goes through, even the coil with the magnetic field energy, it's speaking to the body itself in that genetic coding aspect. So I mean, it's always doing something for you. Obviously, never against you. I've had a couple people ask me, "Well, can it be used to hurt me?"
yeah,
The interesting part about that is that if you use your Healy every day, all day, battery goes dead, and you're I don't know how many programs that might be for you. The worst thing that can happen, really, that I've ever seen, and I've reported myself, is some kind of like a detox symptom. Maybe like you maybe get muscle aches, headaches, but to combat that, you just hydrate better, go out and do some grounding, and then moderate. We've had somebody on the show before that said, hey, I'm doing this many programs and I'm kind of having this kind of condition, and our recommendation is just take it easy. And they come back and join us again later saying, well, that really helped. So moderation, but it can't really hurt you. The worst thing you're going to experience perhaps is going to be some maybe some detox, kind of like if you've had a deep tissue massage. If you guys have ever had a deep tissue massage, what does the therapist tell you prior to your appointment? Drink a lot of water, right? And then what do they tell you when you leave? Drink a lot of water, right? So there's a reason for that, because when you move toxic burden out of the tissues in the body, that's where it settles. When you move it out and you put it back and mobilize it back into the bloodstream, it can settle again in joints and muscles and feel, or even headaches can feel uncomfortable. So it's best to make sure that you hydrate so that modality moves it out of your body. That's the excretion system. And so the same thing is going to happen with Healy as it starts to clear out things. Think about this for a minute. If you're, I don't know, whatever program you're running, the program is amplifying the purpose of its title, whatever it is. So it's just, say it's a learning program. It's amplifying things within memory and your brain and that function. But it's also down regulating certain things that would obstruct that function. So what would obstruct someone's focus or someone's ability to learn? Stress, right? Typically, it is a stress response that keeps you out of the ability to focus and concentrate, especially when it comes to memory. Think about this for a second. I hear a lot of folks saying, man, I'm losing my mind. My memory's going. I'm getting older. It's just a sign of aging. And that's not true. When I start digging deeper into what they're doing, I learn very quickly that they are very stressed out. And you have to understand that part of the brain that houses your memory, it doesn't really need energy when you're in stress response. what needs energy when you're in stress response is be able to fight or run or hide, right? So all those things, mobilizing energy to muscles and more of the sensory acuity, not memory. So down regulate stress, and I'll bet you memory goes back up. Speaking of memory, that's the program I'm running right now.
There you go. Okay. Let's see. I did want to mention one thing here. So we've been trying to enhance our sort of online presence as far as the shopping experience goes. And, you know, there's so many, whenever you shop for anything these days, there's reviews everywhere on the site, on the products, and that kind of thing. So some of you may have gotten an email recently, but we're kind of trying to get more people that are using the Healy device to share their experience there. And one of those things that we're doing is, a lot of people are familiar with this site. It's called TrustPilot. You might see it on a lot of the different e-commerce sites and that kind of thing. But I'll put the link into the chat. But if any of you have a minute, we'd love for you to be able to share your experience that, you know, with Healy, you know, whether it's overall over the years or something specific you want to mention as well. It'd be great for us to, you know, see, we got a lot of reviews here already, but we're trying to gather as many more as possible because we have so many people out there that love their Healy devices as well. And if you don't love your Healy device and have any issues, of course, that's why you come to Tech Tip Tuesday. We help fix everything there as well. But it's also helpful for us for anything that maybe someone didn't have the 100% great experience. Let us know, and then we can help resolve that as well. We follow up on anything, any review that's posted here, we follow up on as well. So, but yeah, this is something that it's been around for a while, but we're trying to take it and keep it more updated as well here, and keep the reviews coming in on an ongoing basis too. But I'll put the link into the chat, and then you'll be able to maybe after the call or tomorrow or later this week, when you get a moment, just take a couple minutes to fill that out. That'd be amazing. So,
you know, that's a lot of people today in business today. I really want to know you as a company or Healy as a company. Want to know, you know, this is kind of, I mean, look, you got Jake on here. He's head of operations for the Americas, right? And spending every week here just showing himself and being on here to help
yeah.
everybody out, right? So really being able to tap into the whole corporate structure.
Yeah.
And I think it gives a great credibility towards the customers and the audience and members and such, being able to have access like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, today's companies are, or I should say today's consumers want to know who they're buying for just as much as what they're buying. So these reviews help to shape a lot of what Healy gives back to the buyers. So just like the suggestions within the apps where you can make your suggestions, we talked about some last week, and encourage everyone to make a suggestion when it comes to what you'd like to see in terms of the software, the hardware, that kind of stuff. So definitely put your feedback in, folks. It's a quiet audience tonight. Are you guys out there?
Everyone's wants to hear from us tonight, Ken. So,
You just want to chat? Okay, we're gonna talk about upcoming things like Jake's been talking about the back office.
yeah.
What else is coming up? Anything we can?
Well, for those of you that have been following Healy on social media, you see we've been teasing something here, something coming in June. And, you know, I can't share exactly what it is, but I will mention it's the biggest new product release since the MagHealy, or even bigger than the MagHealy as well. So, you know, it's going to be amazing. It's coming in June, and then for those of you that are attending the events, there's a couple global events coming up in June, one in Mexico City and one in South Korea as well. But, you know, for those that are in attendance, we'll most likely be able to experience whatever it is I'm talking about for be the first to experience this amazing new release
There you go, teaser.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about it a lot on Tech Tip Tuesdays after this is released in June. So
Yeah, as it comes out. There we go.
yeah.
Well, remember, so think about this, folks, that when we're working with energy, what are some of the sources of, or let's go this way, if we're working with frequency, what are some of the sources of frequencies? And what is a frequency? A frequency is it is a cycle it's an oscillation, like a wave in the ocean. A wave in the ocean, some of those waves are really tall, right? That's the amplitude of the frequency. Some of them may be fairly long. That's the wavelength, the length of the frequency. And so when we're talking about frequency, we're talking about everything from the radio frequencies all the way up to light frequencies, even beyond light, all the way down even lower than that to something that doesn't oscillate at all, which is just a zero frequency, all the way up to like a fraction of a frequency. So in other words, let's just say subsonic, something very, very low, below what you can hear. And
Mhm.
so it's going to be a frequency that moves very, very slowly. So it's have a very long wavelength. So in other words, we measure a oscillation. Let's just say it's a magnetic wave. We measure the oscillation of some sort in time. So from its beginning to its peak in terms of its amplitude, all the way down back to its minimum, and then to its end. So it's kind of a wave form, right? But the wave goes positive and then even swings negative. And there's a period of time in which it takes to do that. That's called the frequency. It's essentially the cycles per second. Okay, so 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second. So one wave up, down, back to zero. So these frequencies can be generated in many different forms. One, of course, is sound. Everybody is familiar with sound, right? Music, my voice, just various types of sound. That's another way of transmitting information. When we receive that, say it's words or it is, some sort of vocal content. It could be a song, singing, whatever. That's picked up by the ear. Those vibrations are translated through our brain. Our mind assigns meaning to them. So, for instance, if it's a word, it's the words I'm speaking are in English. Someone who speaks another language, the vibration of my sound still goes into their ear, but the assigned meaning to it, they have no familiarity because they don't speak English, right? With any kind of thing, if you don't have an assigned meaning to it from the mind, the brain can still interpret it, such as light frequencies going through the eyes, sound through the ears, um, temperature, thermal sensations with our tactile skills. We touch something, it's warm, it's cold. Um, that kind of thing. Even what you smell is a frequency. It's the olfactory nerve stimulation through a scent. All of that is all those are frequencies, and we interpret those through our senses. So Healy, when it's giving things to the body, say the microcurrent or a magnetic wave, either one of those are frequencies. In one form with the microcurrent, the carrier wave is the microcurrent. It's electron flow into your body. Okay, electron flow. And that electron flow is oscillating at the frequencies that the program is sending to the body. And then the body reads that information. The body has its own intelligence. Just like I was saying, in terms of the brain interpreting a sound, and it then the mind interprets the meaning of that sound. That's an intelligence. That's a bridging mechanism between the brain, the mind, aka your consciousness, right? You as a person, and then the organ of the brain deciphering the content. So there's again, like I mentioned, there's various ways of transmitting those frequencies, and sound is one of them. Um, and then another, of course, is the microcurrent, and then magnetic pulsations, even light and vibration. Those are also ways of transmitting. And when you send something in a very um, um, coherent way, so in other words, It's coherent with your body, which, most all light is. Um, in fact, all light is coherent. Our body reads it and it doesn't really hurt us. Anyway, it then amplifies certain things within this biological form. So, so yeah, just a little precursor to all these different ways in which frequency can get to you. There's so much to understand when it comes to wave theory. We can have signals that amplify us and signals that slow us down or nullify us. All right, so Jake has put that link in the chat, you guys. You could save the chat at the end of our call if you know how to explain how to do this a couple times. Up at the top of your chat window where it says Healy Tech Tip Tuesday, there's 3 little dots up there. You click on those. That's another menu drop down, and you can click on Save Chat. It'll say that, and then you click on those 3 little dots. It'll drop down and say Save Chat. At the end of our call, if you're on your laptop or PC, at the end of the call, there'll be a message that says Save Chat. Okay. Jana's saying, will you ask him to send it again? Jana might have joined us later and maybe it didn't show up.
Oh yeah, I'll post that again here in the chat.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So yeah, so if you guys did join later in the call, even at the end, when you say save chat, it's going to have all that chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, Jana. We're happy you're here.
Glad you're here, late or otherwise.
Yeah.
There is no late. Whatever you hear from this point forward will be what you were meant to hear.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, and thank you very much. We're glad you're here. Let's see. No questions though.
I think what else is new here in the Healy world?
Have you guys ever wondered anything about Healy?
Yeah, I mean, we can always talk a little bit more about the YouTube channel for those of you that there's a great series of trainings, very in-depth series of trainings coming out of the APAC region that are available on our YouTube channel. Let me get this over here. Actually, yeah, we could talk about 2 things. For those of you that weren't on Frequencies and Friends or on Tech Tip Tuesday last week, there's a new training on the HealAdvisor app. So not the Analyze app. That one's been available for a little bit of time here. But if you go to HealyOnboarding.com, there's also a separate link that we'll put into the chat for those of you to access it. But let me just go ahead and share my screen again. So if you go to that site, this is what it looks like, and you'll see there's the newest one listed here: Maximize Your Wellness Journey with the HealAdvisor app. There's a Spanish training. Well, these are live sessions. These aren't recordings here. These are all live with Henry Pena, our onboarding specialist. For those of you that have had the opportunity to attend one of these sessions, they're very in-depth. Henry does an awesome job throughout these trainings, and then also they're interactive, so you can ask questions along the way too, which is something that you don't get the opportunity to do, of course, when you're watching a recording. So we have Analyze 2-app training in Spanish, the Analyze 2-app training in English, and then getting started with your Healy device in Spanish and getting started with your Healy device in English. But if you're interested in this newest one, where we talk about a bunch of different things, but you see, if you click on this, we're only doing this one day a week for now, which we might adjust going forward, but it talks about all the different modules. So we're talking bioenergetic vitalization, digital nutrition, natural cycle, and the HealAdvisor Search module. And that's the one that Henry spends the most time on, because that's the one we get the most questions on, of how you search and what do these search results mean, and how do you create the IMF calendar, the schedule, that kind of thing too. So and also talks a little bit about how to activate the demo experience if you were to loan your Healy to somebody, and we can take them through that guided 7-day journey, which is a cool feature as well. That it's probably been the year and a half at least since we announced that, but I think a lot of people forgot that we have that feature there, because we don't talk about it a ton. But Yeah, if you click on these and then click on the date, it pulls up the time, then you click on the time, then you put in your contact information, your phone number, you get text message reminders when the session's about to begin and that kind of stuff too, which is very cool. And eventually we will have a recording of this on our YouTube channel. So if you go to, this is the Healy World Learning Hub, but if you go to specifically the Healy onboarding playlist within there, eventually there will be a recording of this one as well. But again, it's better to join live, that way you can ask questions along the way too. But you'll see here we have recordings of all the four trainings that have been available for a little bit of time now also, if you want to get an idea for what type of things are covered in here. But so yeah, Healy World Learning Hub channel, you can get to it just by going to HealyLearningHub.com, or just look for it in YouTube at Healy World Learning Hub. And then also what I was mentioning here, let me see here. Yeah, if you go to the playlist again, and you see this Healy Advanced Training. So this is a great series of training with some of the awesome product trainers over in APAC. And, some of these topics are, Healy frequencies for, for Healy and MagHealy. And if you click on these two, it'll tell you more also. But for example, this is one of the newer ones. And you'll see here the details. This one was Healy Foundational Protocol for Holistic Health. This took place a couple of weeks ago. And they're very in-depth. Like this one's an hour and 42 minutes long. But it goes through in depth. Like for those of you wanting, this is why it's called advanced training, because it goes in depth. But they do an amazing job. Both Petra and Christy Wong do an awesome job with these trainings as well. They're harder for any one of us here in, say, in the United States to catch live as well, because it's a little bit, because of the time zone, it might be like 7 a.m. here or something like that, which doesn't always work out. But we're going to try to add more and more of these to our Healy World Learning Hub as well. Like here's one. This one was from 3 weeks ago. But you'll see here, this one was on support for severe stress or trauma with Healy, focusing on the power of 3, rebalance protocol, deep cycle, and soul cycle. So yeah, like I said, for those of you who are really wanting to dive deep into specific protocols and that kind of thing of how to help balance anyone dealing with these types of issues, these are super helpful as well.
Yeah, so Jana was asking about the link for, I'm assuming the onboarding, and so she got that. So Christian put that on there. That's the link for the calendar.
Oh yeah, definitely, yes.
HealyOnboarding.com.
Yep.
And so yeah, so that HealAdvisor Search is super powerful when you are trying to deal with or find something on a certain topic. It's super useful. You don't have to be the expert. You can go to the Healy database. It's very vast. So
yeah, and these results, they're not just random. It might appear that way because of some of the group titles. It's like mobility 18. You're like, well, what does that mean? I don't know as well. But like whenever you put in a search term, the program group or pool of programs that comes up first, that's the one that's most relevant for that particular topic. Of course, you have the freedom to look at all of them. Okay, click on the first one. You can see all the programs that are in that specific group, or you can click on the next one, or go kind of down the list there as well. But if you're looking to just go with the default, pick the very first one that comes up for your search term, add it to your or save it, and then also you can create the INF schedule, and that way you can set it to remind you. And Henry does a great job explaining all this when he goes into the training here, but you can have it remind you at a certain time each day. It's okay, it's time to run your morning session, time to run your afternoon session, time to run your evening session. Up to 3 per day. You can do just one per day if you want, or you can just do, I want to be reminded in the mornings on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, or whatever, or maybe I want to run 2 programs per day on weekdays and only one on a Saturday, and I'm taking Sundays off, or whatever, that kind of thing. So,
Um, so remember what I was saying earlier? And Jenna's asking, is there a way to do all in one day if you have a coil? So what I said earlier is that, yeah, man, you can do whatever you wish. Just pay attention to your body, because sometimes you may be sensitive and wind up having some additional, discomforts because you've done too much. And again, like I said, the discomforts typically show themselves in ways of headaches or muscle aches, or, even brain fog, by the way, getting a little bit overwhelmed. So but that's a lot. Maybe you are, um, maybe you're sensitive. Maybe you're one of those folks that's maybe a late responder is another term, where you can just take a lot. Just pay attention, okay? All right.
yeah, so yeah, we've talked about that a lot as far as not overdoing it, but would you say is it similar to, is there a way to do it all in one day if you have the coil? Is if you have a protocol or something like that. Say you're doing a new workout program. Could you work out for 8 hours a day and do every single session in one day and just take the rest of the week off? What would that do to you as far as the results go?
Yeah. Yeah, the body, remember, we're dealing with energy, we're dealing with frequency. Frequency is omnipresent and universal. It goes forever. Um it influences everything at the speed of light. I mean, quantum entanglement has proved that when you have one molecular interface with another common molecular substance, so in other words, let's say you meet a human being, you meet another person, um, the moment you become aware of that other person, you can separate by worlds away, and the moment you think of them, that information is being transferred instantaneously to the other person. Okay. So when we're doing these frequencies, we're giving the frequencies to a body. It happens at the speed of light. But the body is form in space and time. It is density, right? It is mass. And density and mass has a different variable for rate of change depending on its composition. Okay, so we're cells, we're structures of different kinds of cells, bones more dense than, say, skin, right? We can agree on that. And so they're going to have a different rate of change, longer because of their density. But the information that you give them with your Healy via a frequency, whether it be with the coil or with the microcurrent, or even in the information field through the HealAdvisor Analyze, that vibrate mode is doing the same thing. It just takes a while for the body to change. As Jake said, if you go into the gym and you work out for 8 hours, as long as I don't care if you have all the energy in the world and you work out for 8 hours, maybe you've done the proper nutrition, the proper hydration, the whole thing, and you will not see a change in your body, except for being worn out and tired, maybe some soreness, but you won't see a change in your body that day, right? It won't happen that day because it takes a while. So I suggest that every day you do increments within the tolerance of your body, but stay consistent. Stay very consistent and track your results. Journal things about what you're experiencing. I would highly recommend, even if you're using the coil, because you can do more programs per day. But yet, if you're not tracking anything, it doesn't, like as Jake was saying, you go to the gym and you do all the exercises, and all of a sudden one part of your body feels terrible. Which exercise did that? And another part of your body feels amazing. Well, which exercise did that? It'd be hard to tell. So it's important that we stay consistent and track our results. Stay within a certain boundary. When we go to the HealAdvisor Analyze or the search, so this is the app that's over here on my shoulder, the one with the wavy lines here you can see behind me. If you haven't gotten that app yet, that's the one where the search module is, where we can put a word in the search bar and it will find groups. And I said groups. It'll find groups of programs with names, and you can click on that group and it'll open up the different programs that are suggested for that keyword you put in there. As Jake mentioned earlier, the first group and the first program in that group is of the highest priority for the correction of whatever the word you put in there. Okay, so that should be your highest priority. I wouldn't try to do them all. The top 3 are going to have the highest rate of influence. Okay. So let's see. So Ethel's got a question here. And thanks, Christian. Christian's putting a lot of information in there, by the way, about the optimal effectiveness, how many programs to do, making sure that you're taking time between these programs. I highly recommend grounding, movement, hydration. Those kind of things allow the body to process whatever you just upgraded or updated or changed. Our lymphatic system does not have a pump like our vascular system, like our blood. So we have to move the muscles to get that lymphatic system, which is our detox regulation, of getting toxins out and good nutrients in. So grounding, movement, hydration. I always like to say, hey, you know what? Let's do something for the mind. Go fall in love with life, right? That's a little something for the heart, for the mind. Another part of my self-care protocol. So Ethel's got a question here. Says that my Healy usually shows the level of the battery of my Healy. Well, it has gotten to show it is empty, but it really isn't. I got off the program, then into another Healy. What am I doing that causes this? So, okay, I got off the program, and then into another Healy. Now, okay, so if you're using the same Healy, and it's showing this a battery level, and you're just doing different programs, let's say you shut the app off and then came back to the Healy, and you're seeing the battery that's like, you know, you don't think it's reflecting the right information. There is a reset possibility for doing that. But if you're talking about 2 different Healys, right? You log into one Healy, it's going to have a battery level. You log into another Healy, it's going to have its own battery level. They should not, well, they may be the same, but they're probably not. But staying with one Healy, this one right here, when I log in or connect it to my app, it's going to have a battery representation. If you feel that's wrong or that's off, there's a reset process that you can go through to work that back into factory settings. Okay, so Ethel say, no, I changed to another Healy to run a program again. So each Healy, you know, should represent its own battery life in the app. That's when the app connects to the Healy hardware. The Healy hardware sends information to the app to give it statistics, information about its status, and that information should show in the app. Now, if it's exactly the same as the other Healy you were using, that seems random, but they could be exactly the same. If you just had one plugged in and fully charged, and it's showing, the app is still showing the information from the last one, maybe you're still connected to the other one, right? Maybe you got to hard close that app or go into the app and change from one Healy to another, making sure you are connected to that serial number. But usually you're muted, Jake.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a very interesting scenario described there, and you know, restarted the program from scratch. I mean, it could be. I would delete and reinstall the app for sure. If you're seeing some sort of weird situations with the battery indicator as well, and And it's doing that with no matter which Healy device you connect it to. There could be some sort of weird issue with that. But and then also you can do the, make sure you do the proper protocol to restart your phone, completely shut it down, restart. You can delete that, fully delete the app and reinstall the app as well. And then if it's still seeing that issue, you can do the hard reset process that Ken was talking about. And I'll put a link into the chat here. Henry Pena, our onboarding specialist, did a great YouTube short. It's like a 2-minute long video that it shows how to do the different hard reset processes and that kind of thing as well. So sometimes it's just maybe need to delete the app. Sometimes it's a hard reset process, and then go through a few charging cycles to fully calibrate that battery sensor there as well, because it's not physically reading the amount of battery left in your Healy device as well. So there's no like physical connection that's telling you, okay, this is exactly how much battery is left as well. We're relying on the app to sort of make that estimation as well, rather than, there's no battery indicator on the Healy device, other than if it gets too low, you get those 5 flashes. That means, okay, my battery's dead. I need to recharge it as well.
There's a what I always do is I recommend I find out what Healy is my app connected to. I want to know if I'm having any kind of odd things going on. I want to know what Healy am I connected to. Now, if you've got all your Healys turned off, like I have several, and so sometimes it can sneak one in, and I don't know that I'm connected to that one versus the one I intend to be connected to. So in the app itself, you know that there is in the pink app, when you look at the pink app, you're looking at your home screen, right? You got all that list of programs there. At the bottom of the screen, on the far right, you've got that little gear emblem. That's your settings menu. Just click on that, go up to the top, click on My Healy, and then it's going to show you the serial number of the Healy you're actually connected to, right? And then make sure that that's the one that it's back to serial number. That's the one you're connected to, because then any battery indication that it gives you would definitely be a simulation or a representation of that Healy hardware. If it's incorrect, or you feel like it's incorrect, then yes, that reset process, there is, you press and hold the start button as Ethel, you've described there. Press and hold the start button. It's, so many seconds that a green light comes on solid. Let go of the start button. That green light goes off. Then the hardware is reset. That's the process. Now, then you're going to, of course, have to reconnect it. Now, as Jake said, hard closing the app is one of the least often things that people do, but most effective, because they just swipe the app out of the way and it's still running in the background, right? But when you do that, it's also still connected to the Healy that it was connected to in the beginning. It didn't actually change, right? It's still connected. And the app, I should say, the Healy can only be connected to one app at a time. And so this is one of the things I get folks being confused about, is like moving from the pink app over to the blue app, and they want to start running things from there, but it's still connected to the pink app. And they're like, it doesn't work. I can't connect. Well, that's because you have to actually hard close. Now, hard close, if you don't know what I'm talking about, YouTube it, because if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I guarantee you have too many apps running in the background of your device. I mean, I remember when we were on the road doing some things, and I was saying, did you hard close the app? And they're like, what? Then I go and I look at their apps that are open. There's like 40. It's like, oh my gosh. So anyway, that's really important. Okay. Hard close the app, reestablish connection after you've reset the Healy, and then see what it's doing. Okay. Let's see. So Kenny's asking a question here. Is the Healy the same as a frequency specific microcurrent? So great question. Carolyn McMakin is the creator and the founder of FSM, or frequency specific microcurrent. And she uses a dual channel system, and she is partnered with Healy in creating the McMakin module within the MagHealy. So it does run two frequencies at the same time in a magnetic influence, not microcurrent, it's magnetic. So Healy is taking microcurrent, putting it through the body, and then piggybacking frequencies on it. In other words, individualized frequency currents. Okay, it's an IMF, individualized microcurrent frequencies. So it's a little different, single channel, single frequency. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense for you. It's not the dual frequencies.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Healy though, you can Healy World devices, you can do both. You know, you get the Healy device for the individualized, and then use those making programs for the FSM and the dual frequencies.
With the MagHealy, yep.
Yeah, MagHealy. So what's the saying? One for the issue and one for the tissue, or something like that.
Exactly. She says that's why you've got the two frequencies. Is yeah, one for the issue and one for the tissue.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you guys haven't read her book, it is the oh gosh, just went on my head. Frequencies. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up. But if you haven't read her book, definitely read
You
it
can get it on
because
Amazon usually. It's a great book. Yeah.
yeah, read that book because it gives a lot of information and details about what frequencies are doing in general. How is it working in the body? Okay. So Jenna's asking Christian, so with the Coil and the ADHD program search, only do 3 programs a day. They can be in a row, but once again, only 3 a day. So again, here's the suggestion. Yes, you can do 3 a day, but spacing them out, no different like what we've been talking about. Your body needs time. So I recommend an hour, but also in that moment of time between the 2 programs, doing some self-care things such as grounding. Grounding is barefoot on the earth. When you are running microcurrent or even the coil, you're actually creating a coherent wave of energy, whether it be magnetic wave or microcurrent with as a carrier for the frequencies. You're still putting frequency information in the body, and those frequency waves, they amplify certain aspects of your body. They amplify them. So it's good to go out and discharge that and sit in the dirt, relax, ground your body, and then allow time. Drinking water, moving your body, allowing that body to acclimate to the new information. All of this, all of this is information. And the body discerns this information and utilizes it properly. Same thing with food. When you eat food, digests it down all the way down to the frequency of the nutrients, and then your body utilizes it. There you go. Lindley says it's The Resonance Effect by Carolyn McMakin. Great book.
There you go.
The Resonance Effect. Get
Yeah.
that. Everybody go get one. All right. So we don't really, I don't really do a lot of comparison between Healy and other. I know a lot about the Healy and I talk about that. I don't go and research other products to find out if it's like this or like that. So I couldn't really give you advice there, Kenny, when you're asking about a certain other product.
So we got a question from Ethel. It says I watch my Hertz numbers, so the different frequencies that are being transmitted in the Healy 2 app, and the percent to see the numbers improvement to the better side. I run the same program multiple times to watch them go to the positive side and drink. So
Yeah, so what Healy does is, of course, it gives you, when you choose a program, There's a length of time in which it's kind of seeking the resonance of you. It's finding the proper frequencies that fit you as a body. And then it starts applying those. Once it starts applying those frequencies, then it gives you a progress report, right? And that progress report is on a number line from a negative 99% to a positive 99%. And each frequency that is chosen for you will go through a cycle, a sequence, and every 10 seconds it goes to the next, and 10 seconds it goes to the next. It cycles all the way around. And each one of those frequencies gets its own progress report. And so that's an evaluation of how well your body is becoming resonant with that one frequency. And yeah, it will change. It can go up really quickly. It can go up slowly. It can actually even go backwards, by the way. Maybe you've noticed that. You're doing great. You're making some progress, and then you're watching it closely, waiting and anticipating, and all of a sudden, all that energy of that anticipation, and it goes backwards. And then what do you feel like? It's like, oh no, I'm losing ground. No, I mean, to put a lot of energy into the reading then consumes energy from healing, by the way. So the idea here of running this current flow through our body is that it is subconscious. It is, to sit and watch that. It's fun, but you're also using the mind as a part of the interface and can get in the way. I mean, I know maybe none of you guys have any of those intrusive thoughts, but I know people and myself do. Thoughts
Yeah.
to
On the And for those of you that want to learn a little bit more about that, there are some great videos in Healy Academy that show how it's determining which frequencies to give you at a specific time as well. That's in the Healy section of Academy, but also if you just go to the Healy app manual, there's some great information there as well. That talks about the things that Ken was just referring to. So the different modes that IMF program goes through: the real-time mode, the resonance mode, and the selection mode. So the first 10 minutes or so, you get the real-time mode, and then it goes into the resonance mode. That's where you see the progress indicator pop up, and the negative 100% to negative to positive 100%, which you don't really ever see it at negative 100 or a positive 100, because once it reaches 95%, it kind of kicks it out of the sequence there as well. And as it goes through here, and then the final step after that mode is the selection mode, and you'll see here a frequency pool can contain up to 400 different frequencies. So that's one of the more unique things about Healy as well, especially when you're referring to other products that are out there as well that might have, they're delivering frequencies and that kind of thing, where if they have a program to help with sleep, if Ken and I run the same program from them, maybe it's giving us the same frequencies. It's not actually seeing what we need the most out of this program pool too. So that's a unique feature for Healy as far as the microcurrent frequencies being individualized depending on the user as well. So
That's a very important topic too, Jake. What you said there is to understand the uniqueness of how Healy selects specific frequencies that are unique to you and then applies them and then monitors the progress of its own work.
mhm.
Uh, I don't know anybody else that does that. There's many other products out there, everything from light therapies, from red light,
Mhm.
infrared light. You've got other mat systems that send magnetic waves, PEMF mats, all that kind of stuff. But they're set frequencies, right? They've got a variety in which you can choose from, but they don't read the host, right? The red light therapy is just red light therapy, no matter if it's me or if it's Jake or if it's any one of you guys in front of it, it's the same frequency, right? Same thing with a PEMF, pulse emitting magnetic frequency mat. It's a mat. You set the frequency. It runs for a certain period of time, no matter what body's on it. Okay. The unique thing that Healy does is it looks at the body it connected, the client that it's interfacing with, and becomes one, becomes the bridge only for that one body. This, to me, this is brilliance. Okay. So, and Kenny's also asking, so, What if I don't want to do the hard reset? Will my Healy still work? Okay, the only reason we're talking about that hard reset is if there's some kind of a problem, right? It's like not reading the battery level properly, or it's not sending that right information, or maybe it just won't connect for some reason. Um, Normally, the reason it won't connect isn't because it needs a hard reset. Most of the time, it has to do something with the smart device is being used. Maybe it's like I mentioned before that it's connected to another Healy, or or there's another app running even, or too many apps running. But anyway, the hard reset is kind of a last resort, and it's not something I've heard people saying. Well, I hard reset my Healy every time I use it. That's not necessary. It should not be necessary if that's what you're having to do because that's the only way it'll run. Then there's something else wrong. You need to look deeper. Okay. Um, okay. So Kenny's asking if there are any Healy programs that would help with a specific issue. So there's where we were talking about before. The HealAdvisor Search app is an app. It's this one that's off my shoulder over here, right beside me, the one with the wavy lines. That one is a database. It's a search database. You would log into that with your Healy credentials, and that is found in the app itself. You got to get that app. If you don't have it, everybody needs to have it. And there's a search bar at the top. You can put in a word, and it will find groups of programs. So, in other words, you put in a word, and underneath it will come some other words. Right? Just click on one of those labels. It's a label of programs, and it'll drop down the names of the programs that are associated with the search keyword. Okay, and as Jake said, there's some training on how to use that.
Yep. Back to quickly, there was a question about Academy where you can find that one video I was referencing there. So if you do, just go to Academy and then go to the Healy section in products, Healy, and then scroll down. You will see a video called How the Healy Programs Work. You'll see here there's some timestamps for the different modes that we were just talking about: real time, resonance, and selection, and a summary of the modes. And for each of these videos, for anyone that didn't know, if you click play, and then you click these three dots up here, like share, you can share these videos with pretty much all the videos in Academy. You can share with somebody without them having to log into Academy. So I'll go ahead and I'll take this link and put it in the chat here. So you're welcome to go to Academy as well to get to it, but you can also watch it directly because these are all hosted on Vimeo, actually.
You share them, and I love being able to share those. Okay, so closing question here. So Jen is asking a question about a Healy. If a Healy has not been open in a year, in other words, you got a brand new Healy, shrink wrapped, not been open, and you transfer it to another person, does the 2-year warranty start then? It does not. So when you buy a Healy, it gets shipped to your house. When it arrives, that's when the warranty starts.
Yeah.
Whatever the serial number is, it's associated with a purchase, and then that purchase is tracked all the way till it lands on your doorstep. Once it lands on the doorstep, that's when that warranty begins. So yeah, I mean, if we buy a bunch of Healys and then we, gift them out or whatever, the warranty is going to start when they arrived at your house after purchase, not when you've opened them or given them to someone else. It's always been that way, as Jenna, ever since I've been with Healy over 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing for any electronics. If you buy a TV and it sits in its box for 2 years and you just sell it to somebody else, even though it hasn't been plugged in or used, it's from the date that it was actually purchased there. So.
Yeah, that's how it's always been. It's true of, every other consumer product. If you buy a car, it starts from if you have a 1 year or 50,000 mile, it's the clock's ticking when you buy it. or
Yeah,
the mileage, you know.
yeah.
Same thing here. Okay. I think we're caught up. I'm if we missed anybody, I'm sorry. I think we hit everything. By the way, if you want to save that chat, guys, click those three dots at the top of your chat box, and when we're done here, you'll be able to make sure you click on save chat. When we're done, a pop-up will come up and you'll be able to save it on your PC or laptop, not on your mobile device. Anyway, all right. Um, thanks guys for being here. Jake, thank you very much.
You can appreciate it.
And Christian, thank you for your assistance. Always appreciated to have customer service here with us live. This is great. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. The recording for this will be available soon, and everything's time stamped and hyperlinked, so
Mhm.
it's super great. All right, guys, have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.